We live now?
Yeah.
Where am I at? Oh,
You're
there I
right
am.
there.
I have to sit closer, huh?
Yeah, you gotta sit closer, or you have to.
We live? Yeah. Where am I at? Oh,
You're right there.
actually, this one hasn't even came on
Okay.
yet.
We're just chatting. We're just chatting. I'm just gonna.
For waiting.
Good morning.
Oh.
Oh. What'd I do?
Uh-oh, she did something, Steve.
Uh-oh.
Gotta go back. She did something.
I got off of it. Doing my go live thing again. All right. I'm not gonna say anything. I was gonna leave a message, but I messed up.
I sent you a message. Did you get it?
It says good.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Okay. Yeah, that's for me.
I'm not gonna say anything. Oh, you have to turn.
Turn the volume
You have to
down.
turn the volume down. That's what's. It says good.
Yeah.
Good morning.
It's a bit of a delay there.
Who's all in today?
Smile, Donna.
See, this is a bit of a delay here. Oh,
Yeah. We'll worry about this one. I don't see anybody talking this morning.
You will send me a text or something if you need anything, or call
huh?
me.
Send you a text.
Just call me or whatever. If you need something.
I like old. Perfect.
Did you get one, Annalise Schofield?
Yes. Hey, Annalise. How are you? We are hot. What was the temperature?
It's 86 and it's 9 a.m.
What's it?
This says 89.
89 already.
Oh,
We see
it's-
it already went up 3 degrees in just a few minutes.
Yeah, sun's coming up. Keep it warm.
And what's it supposed to be today?
89. It's supposed to be 104 today. Saturday it should be 106. Sunday is supposed to hit 109.
Oh.
Yeah.
When I got into Arizona on Tuesday, I think it was 116. Oh yeah. But there's no humidity here. This it's really different than Georgia. So no humidity. Is it slow? Oh, I'm slow today. It might be because. Hey, Chris and Larry, how are you? And Annalise says, I won't tell you how cool it is here, but I've got a blankie over me to keep my toes warm. Thanks, Chris. Thumbs up. Yeah, give me a thumbs up. I tell you, it took a lot more to get. I'm on my phone. This is the first time I've done my phone. So it took a while because I had to go in and change all the passwords. It was a mess. So, is it hot there? Is this Chris or Larry? Is it hot there where you're at? And where are you? Remind me, please. This is a lot different. I've lived in California for many years. You're in the mountains of Arizona. Oh, really? Well, I flew into Las Vegas, and then my sister-in-law picked me up, and we went to Bullhead City. So I spent the first 24 hours in Bullhead City. Oh, y'all are 78? Oh, you really must be in the mountains. Now, where did they live? They used to live in Prescott Valley, so it was the temperature was a lot different there for them. Um, but right now, they're living in Bullhead City. So I didn't get to spend a lot of time there. But Sunday, we are headed back to Las Vegas, and I'll spend a couple of days there. So, and it may be, we might actually go into the casino. Oh, you were in Chino Valley, 30 minutes from Prescott Valley. Okay.
And see if,
The air conditioner's loud.
oh, okay.
That's what you're hearing, is the air conditioner. Are y'all, is that air conditioner, is it bothering you? Can you hear enough? Because I have all my volumes turned down, so I can't tell.
Good.
We're trying to get some lighting.
On the fly.
There's not enough light yet. Okay, now I'm lit up. Chris, you're 78. That's nice. Oh, that's better. That 78's really nice. I don't know what it is in Georgia today. I hadn't checked that. I had too many things on my phone. I had to close off some stuff. Am I still lagging? I can never tell. And I tried to hit it to where I didn't have a delay in chat, but I don't know if that really worked or not. Which one is the sound on? Oh, it's Steve.
Oh, me
Okay.
here. Okay. On here, your picture and voice are right on.
They're on? Okay. All right. I just want to make sure if there wasn't too much of a delay. Annalise said the AC isn't bothering me, but I can hear it, but it doesn't bother me. Okay, good. You never know how it's coming off there. We're in a camper, so we could cut down some noise. Hey, Gary from Belt Loop 29, how are you? I haven't been able to catch any of your videos. I've been traveling for 2 or 3 days, and I'm at somebody's house different every day, so then I have to go through and get all the internet codes, and so it's been a little challenging for me.
Turn the air off.
Just a little bit.
Turn it down. I think the fan's fine.
But we're comfortable. So oh, good, Gary. I'm glad you're good. It's okay, don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah, you know what? Traveling can be a little bit challenging. I was supposed to leave Tuesday afternoon at 2:30. Well, at an hour and a half later, I'm still on the tarmac in the airplane because they can't get the cargo doors shut. So I didn't even think I was going to get to leave Augusta. And then I got to barely made my connection in Charlotte. So I had like 30 minutes. So I barely made that connection. And then I flew straight to Las Vegas. But did you know a 4.5 hour flight, they don't serve anything anymore. You can order and pay, I don't know, $10, $12 for a meal if you want it. They will give you a drink, and they'll give you a little teeny pack, like that big of cookies. So that's all they give you in 4.5 hours. So I went for coffee. I thought if I'm going to waste my drink, I better have coffee because I need it to stay awake. So I was really surprised, but I'm glad I took some snacks, just to make sure I had something, because I just had this feeling that they weren't going to serve any meals. But 4.5 hours is a long time for people to not have anything to eat. you know, of course, then we lost 3 hours of time because of the time zones. So I'm still a little bit jet lagged, but not bad, you know. I'm glad you came, Annalise. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate that. This was just, I know it's a day later than I normally do, but because of traveling, I couldn't manage it. But unless I wanted to do it in the airport, and I really didn't want to do it there. I appreciate you coming in. We'll catch you later. Gary says, I haven't flown in years. I tend to drive these days. You know what? That is my preference also. I would much rather drive, but 5 days was too much for me to drive alone, and I was traveling alone. Now my kids are coming over because we're having the service on Saturday, the celebration of life for my brother. It's on Saturday, so all the kids are coming in, and one of the grandchildren are coming in on Friday. We're going back to Las Vegas on Sunday. So it's kind of been hectic, but thank you, I appreciate that. He was our oldest brother. This is my sister Donna. She's
Hello.
she's 2 years older than me. She always thought she's the boss.
Yeah, right. That's because you needed bossing.
Yeah, I was always the adventurous one. Gary says hello.
Gary.
He's Belt Loop 29.
Mm,
You'll have to go check out his channel.
okay.
She's a good supporter. So, and we're supposed to speak at the service. I don't know if we can get through it, but we're going to try, because Jack meant a lot to us, and he's our oldest brother. We have another older sister. Yes, family's very important. And he meant a lot to us. He was really the father figure that we didn't have, because I was around 8, she was around 10 when we lost our real dad. He had 9 children. Chris says hello. And Jack was the oldest of the 9 children. But let me tell you, he had a lot of influence on
Actually,
our life.
there was 11 of us.
Well, he had 11.
Yeah.
We had 9. So he had 2 other siblings, older also. Now, our oldest sister is maybe 82. I have to stop and think how old she is. But she is not able to come because she doesn't travel. And we have another older brother who is 72, 73. And he lives in Texas. He will not be here. So it was really important for me to be able to come. So even though, you know, it's a struggle to get here, but all 3 of my children, they managed to get flights reasonable. And like I said, one of the grandchildren are coming also. Belt Loop says that would be a difficult thing. My brother passed a few years back. Niece about a month ago. Oh my goodness. It is very difficult. It's difficult to lose babies. Our mother lost she lost her second child, and he was 5 years old. He contracted polio. Back then, we didn't get the inoculations. You could go to the health department and get them, but my dad, he didn't take us to do any of that. And he may not have thought about it or just hadn't made time. He was the only one that drove in the family, so my mother never learned to drive at that time. But after Jimmy contracted polio, he was in the hospital 56 days, I believe, and up in Oklahoma City. And the March of Dimes actually took care of him, took care of all of his bills.
Mid-50s, 55.
It was 55.
In 1955.
So he did really well. They got him over it, and they sent him to a rehabilitation part of the hospital. And the story goes the way my mother told it. They had left a window open. This was Christmas month. They had left a window cracked open because there was no air. There was no air. So they were getting air, and he got pneumonia, and he actually died from pneumonia. He didn't die from the polio, but he was 5 years old. So, for many years she wasn't able to even talk about it. And so it is difficult to lose any family member, but for some reason a child is just excruciating. Chris and Larry, I lost a son at 11. He was our number 4 back in 2017. He had an accident on our homestead. Oh, I'm so sorry. That is, and farm accidents they do happen quite often, and I really hate that. We had a farm accident with Donna, but it involved a gun, and she did get shot. I think, how old were you? 5, Donna?
I was about 5.
Yeah. So, and she did suffer great injury to her hand, but it took many years to recuperate from that. But it was just a childish prank, and my older brother has lived with that for many years. That he was part of that. Chris and Larry, he was a life donor and saved 6 people. That is a blessing, though. That is. Gary says, I sometimes have to remind myself that we are all here, but for a limited time. It is best to just remember how blessed we are to have them in our lives. Absolutely. And with our brother Jack, being the oldest, he wasn't asked to step in when my father passed away. He had already been hiring himself out to families for several years. He was a teenager, and he would go and live with families on different, they called them farming them out. So they hired out their children to earn money, especially when the boys were older, and they would help support the families. We lived in Oklahoma, and we were honestly dirt poor. We probably didn't know it. We just lived the best life we could live. But he always was there. He would work on someone else's farm during the week. His only day off was normally Sunday, because they truly believed that Sunday was the God's day and that you rested on that day. And he would ride the horse, their borrowed horse, to our farm, and he would help us with the chores on the farm because he was the oldest. And our dad was not able to do much. Bill, let's see. Oh, I read that one. Sorry. So he hired himself out many times before he was 17 years old. When he graduated at 17, he wanted to go to college. Oh, I'm glad you came in, Gary. I'm glad you stopped. And I know I'll see you again on another one. So you be careful. So yeah, he hired himself out. He earned money. Sometimes we earned food, whatever we did. I mean, this was just what we did, but he had a really big impact on our lives as growing up. He left, went to California when he was, barely 18, and he became successful, worked in the same business for 40 years and ended up owning the business, and he just did really well. But he never forgot where he came from or how simple we lived. He never did that. So this should be quite a gathering of people that knew him for all those 40 years in this area, because like I said, they live in Arizona now, and they decided to do it in Bakersfield because this is where we all grew up in teenage years, and this is the people that he knew were in California mostly. He really didn't know anybody in Arizona. They just loved it over there, though. So that's where we're at now. Sunday we head back to Las Vegas. My kids, they leave on Monday, early Monday, 5 a.m. and then I leave again on Tuesday. So I think we might just kind of do a little sightseeing for a couple of days.
We're
and-
gonna sit and gamble. We're not moving.
I wasn't going to say that.
It is extremely hot in Vegas. Probably could be anywhere from 115, 118. So there's no need to go outside.
There's no outdoor activities
We don't have to go outside.
that we need to do. But yeah, it's kind of fun to go through the casinos, and they do have some good food there. So,
A lot of free entertainment.
in the free entertainment, and we will have my granddaughter's 13, 14. Gosh, I can't even remember. Isn't that awful? 13. But so we will have a child with us. So we're going to do children friendly activities. Now, all three of my children are not too young to go to the casinos, so we'll see what happens there. But hey, I want to show you guys. This is our sister-in-law gave this to us. Jack had this, and it was very precious to him. I didn't know he had it, but this quilt, and I'm going to raise it above my face in a minute. This quilt was our family heirloom, I guess. It was a quilt that was used many times. It's been washed, but and it has been recovered at least once. I know some of y'all know about that. It was hand sewn and hand quilted in originally. We don't know the date, but we believe it was probably at least in the 40s or 50s by the fabric that was used, and maybe even earlier than that.
Earlier than that.
The second covering was tacked on, and if you don't know what tacking is, it's basically it almost looks like yarn, but it's sewn through each block and tied in a knot, and it's tacked on to the original cover, and then they put a binding on it. And so this is the quilt here, and it was some of it is feed sacks, flour sacks.
Show the piece of torn.
Oh, look at the torn. Where's the torn piece? Now here's what the back looks like. You can see the stitches. This is the tacking, and it was really simple. And then they put a new. And if you felt of it, you can feel the thickness. There is one spot that's tattered that shows you the fabric underneath, and it's definitely a different time period because the fabric is a different, it's got different colorings. Hey Danny Days, how are you? I'm showing the family heirloom quilt, and this quilt will go to our oldest brother. Now he is in Texas. He's 72. Jack was 75. Where's the torn
Right
piece? Okay, this is the torn piece. And this is pink pillow ticking. I've seen blue and gray before, but I've never seen pink. And this is the fabric underneath it. So you can see the other quilt. And if I get it really close, you can see that it's hand stitched. This is hand quilted, but the pieces are actually hand stitched together also. So you can tell the difference in the type of fabric. I couldn't see any flowers or anything. They were mostly fabrics that were solids or stripes. But the one on top had more color to it. So we thought that was really interesting. We are going to take photographs of different areas of the quilt, and we're going to frame those photographs as a memento for all of the other children. But the original quilt will go to our brother Gerald, and for his daughter and grandson.
And tell them where Jack went over to
Yeah.
Grandma Pope's.
This is, if it was a family heirloom, which it is, our dad was the one who quilted. His mother taught him how to quilt, and his mother was born in 1887. Our dad was born in 1909. so you can tell there was some age there. But he would go over to his mother, and I got this story from our mother. Because I mentioned about quilts one time, and she said, oh, I wasn't the quilter, although she sewed our clothes. She said, I wasn't the quilter. I didn't have that kind of time to set hours. I had little babies to raise. Oh, Danny, you were born in California. We're in Bakersfield right now. So our dad would go over to our grandma. We called her Grandma Pope because she remarried and she wasn't a Johnson anymore. And she had the quilting frames that hung from the ceiling. Oh, you've been there. Yeah, it's hot here. So Grandma Pope would lower these wooden quilting frames. They had this quilt on there, and they would work on it as they could. And so our dad would go over. They would lower the quilt frame down into usually the living room, what they called the living area. And they would sit around and do this hand quilting and get this quilt put together. And it may take them months to get a quilt actually quilted by the time they pieced all the blocks together. So the quilting took quite a bit of time. And it has really thick cotton inside of it. This was way before they put polyester padding. So it's all cotton on the inside.
And this is how Jack learned to quilt, because
Yes.
he did sewing also.
And probably all the boys, as a matter of fact, I know all the boys did because our oldest brother, Gerald, one time he got a needle on I think it was his index finger. He got his finger up under the needle, and I remember the trauma of that, of getting his finger out and all the noise he was making. So that was when he was sewing by sewing machine. So I think we all learned to sew because you were supposed to. Danny says, let's see, she was born in San Bernardino. You know where that is, huh?
Yeah, down toward L.A.,
Okay, she knows more. I haven't lived in West Covina, yeah.
West Covina. Yeah.
Oh, good. That was Chris. Danny was born there too. So we got some California people here today.
It's not a good place to visit now.
Oh yeah,
It's terrible, nasty.
when we come over through the Tehachapis is when we came over, and I could not believe how thick how thick it was. Danny said she was born in George Air Force Base before it shut down. Oh, I didn't even know about that Air
okay.
Force Base. Because we were brought out here in 1969. Yeah, you love that Prescott Valley area. Jack and Marilyn did too, but they didn't like the really cold wind. Their skin was just too thin, I guess. But they don't mind the snow, but it was the wind, because they were in Prescott Valley, and it was so cold that they just couldn't keep warm. And when you're coming from California, they thought the cooler weather was going to be good for them, but they didn't handle it more than a couple of years before they were ready to go back to Bullhead City.
Too much rain and wind.
Yeah,
What do you call those storms?
Oh, monsoons.
Monsoons.
Yeah.
A lot. But
So-
beautiful skies. Oh my gosh. Awesome
And the air
skies.
is so much cleaner over
Gorgeous.
there. Yeah, California has some rough air, but so I lived here from '69 until '74, and went to high school here. And then since then, I've just been kind of a traveler. I've lived in many states, and after I married, then we traveled because he had to do work, and he was an electrician. So Chris says we got almost an inch of rain yesterday after the monsoons. Yeah, when I flew in on Tuesday, my sister-in-law says, oh, we're in the middle of monsoon weather. Of course, I didn't see any of it, and we left the next morning very early, so I didn't get in on any of that. But
Read
yeah.
Danny's.
Danny, let's
Danny.
see. Must have been a hoot. I bet y'all got some stories to tell that you don't want the grands to hear about.
Oh yeah.
Yes. And back in '84, Jack was the instigator of us starting family genealogy. he worked with our two older sisters, two older than him, and cousins from Oklahoma. We all started working on genealogy. So the first thing our mother says, "Oh, I don't know if you want to do that." And I said, "Sure, we want to know about our ancestors." And she said, "Oh, no, you're going to open one of them doors and those skeletons are going to fall out. So you probably don't want to do it." She tried to talk us out of it. But then a few years later, she was helping us and she was telling us stories, and she told us a story about our dad learning to quilt from his mother, and his mother learned from her mother. That's the way you did it and the way you should always do it. But unfortunately, kids today, they've lost that art. If you don't teach them, they don't know, and it's not something they would normally just pick up. They have to have an interest in a tie, a family tie. It helps. Let's see, we got almost an inch of rain yesterday afternoon for the monsoons. Oh my gosh, an inch. That's a lot of rain. We got an inch of rain before I left, and it was a whole day. So, and it was a slow rain. So I can understand. And I actually lived in Arizona. I lived in the Glendale, Phoenix area for 2 years. And I remember the monsoons and the electric storms. I mean, they were fascinating, but they were kind of scary too. And I had two little tiny babies that did not like them at all. Danny says, and sometimes you even teach them that they still act like they don't know. Yeah. Too hot in Glendale. Yeah, the first day, my husband went over there because he worked at Palo Verde. He was in the construction part of it. It was from 81 to 83 is when we were there. The first day we moved there, it was 113 degrees, and we came from Arkansas, and that was a really big temperature change. And I was 7 months pregnant. So needless to say, I stayed in the house until winter because I couldn't take the heat, and I was pregnant. And it's like, so we lived in an apartment, or we lived in a house in Glendale. And so yeah, it was very hot, but he wanted to be on that side of town because of having to take a bus out every day. He had to take this bus out to Palo Verde and riding the bus back and forth every day. I don't know why we didn't take we had one car. I don't know why he didn't take the car, but maybe because the electricians, they all met at the Union Hall or something, and they all went together. So that 2 years, the one good thing about we did in Arizona during that time is we did a lot of sightseeing. We went to Painted Rock. We went to up into Sedona to the mountains oh my gosh, it's so pretty up there. And we did camping. And so we did a lot of things. Once we realized we could get through the heat, we were able to do a lot of things. And we took the little ones. They don't even remember. They really don't remember. The second baby was born in the Baptist Hospital in Phoenix. And I don't even think it's there anymore. Because I was looking for it. I don't even think it's there. But so after a couple of years and his job ended, we went back to Arkansas. But I did like my time in Arizona because we got to see a lot of sites, historical sites, and we did like camping. We went into Utah too, and we camped in Utah. It was kind of cold at night there, but so we did the most, and that probably started our RV journey with camping. We started it in Arizona. So it's going to be nice to see everyone, even though it's a sad time for us, and we already miss him terribly. We lost him on Father's Day, and ironically, he was our father figure, not just our brother. So we lost our oldest sister, Elwanda, back in 2015. She contracted West Nile virus. She was in Oklahoma, and unfortunately, she had early onset Alzheimer's, and it caused her not to remember us for 3 years before she passed. So we actually lost her on the day she contracted the virus, because she didn't know us, even though we went to visit her often, and she didn't know us. But she did survive the West Nile virus. That's a nasty thing. Nasty. Oh, yeah, I kind of get long-winded, Danny. You got anything you want to say, Donna?
No, not yet. Linda does all the talking.
We were asked if we want to say something at the service.
That's
And
a challenge.
that is a challenge for us, to get through it, because you kind of have to, you have to be in the right mindset. So we were asked ahead of time, and so we are going to try to say a couple of words. And Donna says she doesn't talk to anybody, but she actually communicates very well. And she talks California, I don't. Hey, Verna, how are you? I'm so glad you got to come in. So glad. Danny says people can't relate until it happens to them. Yes.
Right.
I try to think how I would feel if I were in those shoes. And yeah, it's in some, I guess we all deal with it in a different way. And some may deal with it more publicly than others. I'm probably one that deals with it, by myself. I'm not the vocal person, and I normally can hold it together pretty good in public, but private is a different thing. So we all deal with it separately.
Well, the thing is trying to think of the good things that happened in our life, and with our brother and with our family and everything, and try to use that to keep ourselves together until that last moment. But we'll get through it. We'll get through it, because there was a lot of good, funny stories that we can tell, and don't know how much time they're going to allow for us, but we'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna try to bring some of his humor.
Yeah.
Because he was quite, he was a teacher,
Yeah.
but he was teaching you, you didn't know it. He was that kind of more than one chance to, do it right, or so sometimes you didn't know that you were being teached. You didn't know.
But as a child, he and Gerald got into trouble a lot, and being out in the country, and Gerald says they got a whooping every day and said they deserved it. So there's a lot of, he learned how to be a good boy and everything and stuff. And like Gerald said, even with all the whoopings that they got, and Linda and I and the younger ones, we had to go out and get the peach tree limb off of the tree, and we got switchings. She always got the skinniest little switch she could find, so that didn't really help us. But Gerald said that for all of the butt bustings we got and everything, it made us better people, and it did not hurt us at all. It actually made us a better person.
I think it did. Hey,
Yes.
MB Heritage Farms, how are you? Glad you came in. But yeah, we had, Don always said that I got more whoopings than her.
That's because I blamed her all the time.
So I may
Probably.
have taken some of her butt
Yeah, I
whoopings.
bet so.
But and Jack was disciplined differently. He was the oldest. Our dad disciplined him, and he probably disciplined Gerald, which was the oldest son also. So they were disciplined different, and they might have got a butt whipping with a belt, but the little ones, now we have 2 younger brothers that are 3 years younger than me, and then 5 years younger than me. So there's 2 more younger ones, and they probably never got whippings, because I don't remember them ever doing anything to get a whipping for. But I'm sure that, somewhere along the line. But our mother is the one who switched us younger ones.
Oh, yes.
And if she told us, she could give us the look, and if we didn't take care of it by the look, then we had to go out and get the Peachtree switch or whatever. And we thought we were doing so good by getting a little skinny one, and she would take that thing and then she would rip all of those leaves off until the very end, so it left that few little leaves. And I think I remember sometime padding my pants, you know, because she was going to whip me, but she'd whip me on the bottom of my legs. But you know what? I mean, we just, hey, 12 Stones Ranch. I think it's true. If you're disciplined and you know your boundaries, we were never allowed to disrespect our parents. We were never allowed to talk to them the way the kids talk to their parents these days. And we appreciated everything we had, because what we had, we all earned it. We all earned food to put in our mouth. We worked the garden. We worked, you know, they went out hunting and they would bring in rabbits and turtles and birds and doves, fish,
A lot of fish.
and deer when it was in season, and who knows, it might have been out of season too, because when a family's hungry, they'll do anything. So yeah, we got plenty of whippings, but no, we weren't allowed to talk ugly to our mother, and I was so young, I don't remember talking ugly to my dad, but I just don't really remember him. Danny says I had a belt once that had a little studs on it, and it spelled out princess. I don't think Mama realized it at the time, but that's the way it turned out, real cute. Oh, yeah, we definitely didn't want to be whipped with a belt that had buckles or conchos or anything on, because that would have tore us up. But yeah, we got our discipline, you know, and we just turned out, you know, all of us kids actually turned out really well. And we really, and I'm kind of surprised, because my mother was a widow for many years, from the time she was 30, and she had 5 babies then. The older ones were already out of the house. So she had 5 babies, and you know, she'd never learned to drive. The pastor's wife taught her how to drive, and she would drive the back roads. I don't know when she got a driver's license, but I don't believe she got one until she got to California. So she had been driving for a while. When we got to California, the welfare had a program called the WIN program, Women in Need. And that program was only available in California. That's one of the reasons we were brought out here, so we could have a chance to make something and to do something. They put her through school. She did not graduate the 6th grade, so they put her through school. So I think it took 18 months to get her GED. She did that, and then she went on to nursing school for another couple of years, and she was a nurse for 35 years in the same hospital. But she was always, she came up rough and tough, and she did what she had to do. We were off welfare when she got her nursing job, and we did not turn out to be career, government family. So, and that was really amazing in itself. Let's see, what'd you say, Danny? Oh, can't raise kids like that these days. They come and take them. Yeah.
It's true.
That's right, and the kids know it. They say that, oh, if you hit me, I'm calling the law.
And they will do that.
You know, they make the decisions on what they do. So
Yeah, it's scary.
we weren't allowed to do that. Of course, we had a radio. I remember a radio, but we weren't allowed to listen to it. It was only for certain programs or news or probably farm report, but it was only turned on a certain time of the day, and I think my dad probably is the one who always did that. Hey, Cottonwood Ranch. So yeah, we weren't allowed to look at the radio, and I don't think we had a TV until
Probably the mid-60s.
mid-60s maybe.
Because we had a black and white before we moved out here.
Oh yeah, fuzzy black and white.
Yeah.
If it
With
worked,
the little Indian on it at the end.
it was an antennae. my mother used to call it the antennae, but so we did have a TV. But other than that, we had one bicycle that I recall that we all shared. And I'm sure it was a used one. It was a refurbished one or passed on, passed down. So the same as our clothes, you know. Like I said, we were poor and we really did not know it. But the garden was, our mother made the garden always. Our dad had a garden. I remember her talking about it. It was all flowers. His garden was flowers. He loved irises and different kinds of flowers, and people would give him seeds from all over. They'd come visit and they would bring him seeds. This is the story my mother told. I don't remember it myself. But she did all of the gardening. Potatoes, boy, I remember digging potatoes. Always we had potatoes. But, and if we had meat, we had soft-shell turtle, and we had dove, pheasants, whatever bird that you could eat that had enough meat on them, quail. That's really, we lived off grid. I'm pretty sure that was considered off grid because we didn't always have electricity. Donna was born in a log cabin that our dad built. And I know it didn't have electricity in it.
No.
It didn't. So, and she was born in 57?
I was born in 54
I'm sorry, she's
on
old.
a tornado night, and my dad went to town with a shotgun to bring the doctor and the nurse out because it was too late and too hard to go in town with mom. And so that's why I was born at home. They brought the doctor out. And then they went and forgot to do my birth certificate, so when I got ready to go to school, mom and dad had to go look for the doctor and the nurse, but the doctor had already died, but the nurse remembered the story of coming out on a storm night, and that's my birth certificate was delayed until I was going into the first grade.
Yeah.
And that happened a lot back in the 50s.
That's right.
Back at
When they had a home birth, well, Jack, the brother that passed, he was born also at home. But when they had a home birth, they had 10 days, the way my mother told it, to register the child. And so that's what they did. Within 10 days, hey, how are you? I missed your live, Kathy. I just realized it. I don't even know what day it is anymore. But I am in California. I've been in Arizona. I've been in North Carolina, Las Vegas, Nevada, and then Arizona, Bullhead City, Arizona, and now I'm in Bakersfield. So I've been on the road for days. So, but my camera is getting low on battery. So I hope it holds out. If I just cut off, y'all know why. I'm losing battery. So that's the way we were raised. Jack was he was our rock.
He was our mentor.
He was our mentor. He taught us to shoot a gun. He taught us to ride horses. He taught us to
chew tobacco.
Oh my gosh, chewing tobacco. Y'all, this is probably my worst story that I remember is I always wanted to do, the boys would be into stuff and it's like, oh, give me some of that. And no, it's tobacco, you won't like that. And I guess I complained and carried on until finally Jack says, okay, cut her off a piece. And Donna doesn't remember being there, but I remember this stuff because it was some nasty stuff. And they cut me off a chaw of tobacco. That's what they called it, a chaw of tobacco. And I chewed that stuff and it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just remember the taste was so bad that I was just about to barf. And I don't remember if Jack said, whatever you do, don't swallow it, or if you can't keep it in your mouth, swallow it. I don't remember what he said, but I can guarantee you I swallowed it. And I remember being so sick, and once I got sick, they kept saying, oh, she's green. And so, yeah, I I don't remember much about that, but I do remember they took me home in a wheelbarrow because I couldn't walk. I was so sick, and I was probably about 12 years old. So yeah, that was tough. So, but thanks, Kathy. I appreciate it. I will talk to you soon. I'll try to get some. Oh, thank you. All I have to do is speak something, and Steve is there. Okay, I'm plugged up now. I'm tech challenged.
My husband's good at it.
Yeah, he's great at tech stuff, and so when I'm not over here, if I have a problem and my kids aren't available because they're all good at tech stuff, and so if they're not available, then I'll ask him, and he always helps me. But so that's where we're at now. Oh, this cool thing that they're setting up for the service. It is in a country club, but it's a rustic type country club. It's really cool. They do weddings and different things there, but they're having a table. My sister-in-law is setting up a table that has some of his mementos. And for the y'all that came in, I don't know, Kathy's still here. This is the quilt. This is the family heirloom quilt. This quilt will be on the table. His Stetson and his boots, and
Belt.
they're taking all of his. He has many belts, so they're taking all of his belts, and each table will have a belt wrapped around the flower, the flowers that they chose for the table, small flower. So the belt is. I'll try to get some pictures so y'all can see some pictures. I won't be able to live stream, but just for the privacy of everyone is there, but I will try to get some photos of some of the decoration. But it's pretty cool that his belts will be wrapped around each one of the tables, and these are worn belts. These are really, these aren't new belts. These are belts that he wore. He has a saddle, but the saddle is too big to bring from Arizona, so the saddle's not going to be there. But he has a nice saddle. Plus, I have one of his saddles at home, so one day I'll show you his saddle. He gave me his extra saddle because he quit riding a few years back. So, but other than that, that's where we're at. A service is on a Saturday. We'll spend all day with family and friends here in Bakersfield. All three of my children and one grandchild coming in. My niece, Jack's daughter, is coming in from Colorado, however you say that. And so some other family members, a lot of family members here live in Bakersfield still with their families and friends. This is, where he lived for 40 years, so many ties here. Sunday, I'm heading back to Las Vegas. Might have to do a little sightseeing and gambling, okay, and Tuesday morning I'll be going back to Georgia.
And on Friday, Jerry and Ricky and Linda and I and our niece Melanie, pretty much we all grew up together after we came out to California. She was 5, and we basically were like her older siblings, and she seemed to be with us during holidays and all events and everything. So Friday is going to be a very special time because Jack has given us that gift of being together, and we're going to be looking at some old black and whites and some pictures and things of the old days. And so that's going to be a very special time for the 5 of us. Many stories about our fun days together.
Yeah, we're going to try to really take some notes. This is a photograph. I want to show you this one photograph before I go. Yeah, we love. Donna has gone through like 2,000 photos.
I scanned 1,500.
Yeah, before I got here. So she's putting it on a thumb drive for all of us siblings, and so we will get. Some of these photos were Jack, some were his mother, some were our mothers, some were just some that were taken over the years. This picture is our grandmother. She was born in 1887. That's one that Donna found. And this is her oldest baby, and you can see he's a big old baby. This is our Uncle Doc. and which is not his name, that's his nickname. He got his nickname because every time we had an animal or something that needed to be tended to, us kids, he was the doctor. He doctored us up no matter what. When she was ill, he stayed with her until the day she died. She died in 65 with the swine flu in Oklahoma, as from what I understand. And he lived his whole life taking care of her. She had 5 other children, but and our dad was born in 1909. So yeah, that is our grandma Pope, and we only call her Pope because she remarried Mr. Pope, but that's Grandma Johnson, and she was 4'9" or 8, and see in her dress right there, that pocket, I can guarantee you there's a little Derringer in there. She was a pistol packing grandma, and she always had a pistol. So you didn't mess with grandma.
Or her snuff or her
Yeah.
money. She always took the money, put it in a little tobacco bag, and she would pin it inside her skirts. And that's where all her valuables were.
And sometimes she would pin it down in her front, because, you know, back then they didn't wear what we wear underneath. And, but she always had a slip, and she would have something pinned. Yeah, Danny, that's right. But she grew up, I mean, 1887, she grew up in very, very difficult times. And many times, or many years, she lived in a tent. Our dad was born in, I forget what they call them, but they're like underground houses, and they're built in the side of a hill or a mountain, and they had wood doors. But he was born in that underground house, and if it got too hot in the summer, they lived underneath where it was cool, and they had their canned goods or whatever. They didn't have a refrigerator, but that's how they lived. And then they would only sleep there at night. But during the really, really cold months, it also kept them warm underneath there. And they lived in Oklahoma, which it was like a shelter from tornadoes. And all of that was Indian territory when they were both born. So, and that's one of the great things about genealogy we found out. So we've learned a lot through the genealogy. Yeah, Danny, I don't blame her. You didn't mess with Grandma Pope, but I can remember always in the corners of her mouth she had snuff, because she was I don't know what you call it, but she dipped snuff. That's what it was. She would always dip snuff, but she didn't smoke, but she dipped snuff. And back then it was okay for the ladies to dip snuff.
And she usually had a spittoon, but
she got a coffee can.
Right, and then it went from a spittoon, so then she had a coffee can.
And
that's where she'd spit her snuff.
This was actually, I don't have a date on it, but it was in the 60s, probably a few years before she passed away. But if you see that Folgers coffee can right there, that's her spittoon. But now this was a grandma that you didn't mess with her. If she said something, you didn't mess with her. You didn't go in her kitchen. You weren't allowed in her kitchen. Hey, T&J Homestead, how are you? So glad you came in. She allowed no one in her kitchen. If we had a family gathering and her own sisters, if they would bring a dish, she would put it in the kitchen, but when they left, she put it in the trash. She said she wasn't having anybody's food that had animals in their house. She did not want any animal hair. She didn't want to eat anything from someone else's house, and she wouldn't allow us to do it. So we weren't allowed to eat the food that someone else brought into her kitchen. And every house she lived in, if the bathroom, well, actually, it didn't have to be close to the kitchen. She always padlocked the bathroom and made us use the outhouse, because the bathroom to her did not need to be in the kitchen or near the kitchen, because it was unsanitary. So she was really funny about, she wouldn't let anybody use her kitchen, but she was a great cook. And when she put a spread on the table,
Oh, it was everything.
I mean, we had frozen pears when we came over as treats. They were always in a shoebox wrapped in wax paper. She would make us fried egg sandwiches to take home. So yeah, Verna says, I have to get going now. I'll catch you. What I missed on replay. Take care, Linda and Don, and all your loved ones. Thank you, Verna. I appreciate
Thank you.
that. And I'll try to give you an update, and maybe I can show you some pictures of some of the service later next week. And I appreciate all y'all coming. It's about time to close it up, isn't it?
And it's nice to meet all of you guys. I follow you when she does her live show, so
She recognizes you. So yeah,
names.
whenever you see her, she doesn't say much, but when she's on the live stream, but I told her she had to be in it with me. So there's just no
it's a pleasure.
So yeah, so it's fun, but and this is the gift that Jack gave us again, is to get us all together and spend some time together, even if it's just a few days. So that is another one of the things that he left us. And I truly believe that it is not what you take with you, it's what you leave behind. So with that, we'll see you guys again. Bye. Thank you.